Lorraine is at the RCMP Forensics Lab, if she got there safely today.
Yes, hopefully. She left early enough and didn't have to scrape too long, Lorraine.
I think I left Sunday night to get here on time for this morning.
Basically,
those roads are cool today.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say that you collected evidence from a crime scene, okay, Andrea and Shay?
Got it.
This is what you've collected. You can tell pretty much that it's a palm print, it's blood, but that's about it. John, you know you can chemically enhance that so you can see it better?
That's correct. We use a chemical that's methyl-based to enhance that Gotomedo black.
So what do you do?
I pour the chemical on here.
Go ahead. Watch this.
I let it sit for approximately 15 seconds, and then I will rinse it with some methanol.
And we will see a better palm print.
You see a better palm print. It enhances it. It reacts with the proteins that are present in the blood and makes the blood visible. And
well, look at that.
And that enables us to make an identification, hopefully to a suspect of a crime.
When we come back, what can you read from a blood spatter? We're going to find out together in just a few minutes. Very cool. Blood spatters, okay?
Okay.
Right.
The first thing, we're in a room that would recreate a crime scene. The first thing you want to determine, John, you were telling me, is?
We try to determine if this is blood, and by doing that, we have a presumptive test, and we use what we call a hemistick. And this is a reagent strip, and on the end it's got a chemical base, tetramethylbenzidine, and we subject the end of this reagent strip with some distilled water. Give it a shake, and then we apply this to what we presume may be blood.
And what will it do if it is?
And then if it is, we get a reaction which is anywhere from dark green to purple, and this is a good indication that this may be blood. So
okay. You never assume, that's the bottom line.
That is the bottom line. We have to have a DNA analysis. Of
Here's
this.
the blood spatter, and you can determine a pattern because you've been trained in this, but I look at it and I go, how would you know where to put these wires or these strings?
That is correct. When I enter a scene, I look for blood stains, and I try to determine through the blood stains what happened in this scene. So by analyzing the blood stains, and I then try to do a reconstruction of the scene through the blood stains.
How are the wires placed the way they are?
I look at the overall pattern of the stain on this wall, and then I look for upwardly moving stains, and this is an indication that these stains they're elongated, so that indicates to me they're at an acute angle, and they come from the general area of where the circular stains are on the wall.
Down here. Okay.
That is correct.
And then how is it that you managed to bring them all to this one point?
I take individual stains, and with that stain, I measure it using calipers or through digital photography and a computer program. But in this case, I use calipers. I measured the stain, and through basic trigonometry functions, I was able to determine an impact angle. And that impact angle could be anywhere, depending on the stain, from 0 to 90 degrees. And these stains generally have been approximately 45 degrees. So with the aid of a protractor, I string from the stain to an area of convergence, which is indicative of the circular stains on the wall.
Okay, we're out of time, but I have to tell you, Andrea and Shay, bottom line, the impact occurred when the victim was down here. That's the bottom line. Wow. So they know that the person wasn't standing up. That's where the head was. Very cool stuff. I couldn't really follow a lot of what John was saying because it's an exacting science, as you can tell.
It is, yeah.
But oh my gosh, it makes you wonder, is there such a thing as a perfect crime anymore? They can determine pretty much anything, can't they?
Yeah, 7:50 now as we head back over to the Forensic Laboratory Services for the RCMP.
Lorraine is there this morning giving us a behind-the-scenes look at the incredible work that goes into solving a crime.
So can you imagine getting a check for $90,000? Only it's really not $90,000? Look at this. That looks pretty close to 90,000 pounds to me, Tim.
Yes, that's exactly what it would appear to be, but if we use some special lighting examination techniques, it's the video spectral comparator, or VSC.
That's this machine right here.
That's exactly what it is. Using some blue-green light, we can show that actually there's an alteration that's taken place, and that we're getting some luminescence off the screen. It was really only 9,000 pounds, and that's one of the things we do here in the documents section, or the Bureau for Counterfeits and Documents Examination section. We bring up alterations to documents to show that they're not, in fact, what they appear to be.
Different kind of ink?
Absolutely. In this case, it's reacting differently from the genuine ink or legitimate amount for 9,000. You can see over here, they've actually put in the TY to make it look like 90,000 instead of the 9,000 pounds that was originally intended. This happens all the time.
Silly gooses. They're not going to get away with that.
No. Well, that's why we're here, to make sure everyone's doing things right.
Let's go into the other room.
Absolutely.
Set it up for us, if you would, Tim.
Yes, what we're doing right now is we're going into another area where we're dealing with an examination that's done using handwriting, which is what we do in the section most of the time. But in this case, it's a little different. It's handwriting indentations, which you would find on, say, a blank sheet of paper. Now, in this particular case, we had a situation where a youth was found deceased in the residence, and they were trying to determine whether we're dealing with a homicide or a suicide. And what happened was they took the pad of paper that they found by the body and brought it to the lab, to the documents section for examination purposes. The indentations on this note were found on different sheets on the pad of paper using the ESDA, or electrostatic detection apparatus.
So this machine will do what?
It'll bring up indentations in a non-destructive manner. Everybody's probably familiar with the late-night detective movies where you've got something on the pad of paper and then you scribble over it to bring up the indentations. Well, that's what this system does, only it does it using a non-destructive electrostatic field. Now here, the first sheet underneath the original, we have indentations showing that there was a suicide letter left behind, and as we go down to the subsequent layers of pages, we can still bring up the meaningful indentations off the paper pad.
Even if you go down to like here, you're still going to get some indentations and end up with something like that. This was the original suicide note?
That's exactly what we have. Is afterwards, the family recanted and said, yes, there was a note that we removed at the time we discovered the body. And so they were able to prove and save a lot of time for the investigator that we weren't dealing with a homicide. It was actually a suicide or a sudden death.
If it's RCMP related and it's counterfeit, it's going to come to the lab here or one in Ottawa. In the country, that's it. Edmonton or Ottawa. Pretty cool, hey?
Pretty lucky to have it here, yeah.
It's a high-tech
No
place.
kidding. When we come back, a bike and an impact. What really did happen? We're going to find out together with trace evidence in just a few minutes.
Intriguing.
It is neat, yeah.
And if you need to report any information that you have pertaining to a crime, just call Crimestoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. You can also log on to crimestoppers.ab.ca for details.